Hi guys, this is D Flash and we're back with another video. This time around we're going to take a look at Maschine 2 and the new drum synths that come with it. So to start we're going to add our kick. So to do that we just hold shift and press browse, and we just turn the knob until we select kick and then load. And what it starts us off with is a sub kick, which is similar to an 808 style kick. And I'm going to put that in with our step sequencer. So I'm going to hit step. I'm going to put the fixed velocity on. And then we'll put in a 4/4 beat. And we'll play. So you can hear how that sounds a lot like a 808. And we can adjust the tune. And the decay. And the bend, which would change kind of how the attack sounds. It changes the pitch bend in the envelope. And then we can adjust the attack. The attack mode can go between thin and thick, or noise. And then you can adjust the color of that attack. And how much of it you want to hear. On the second page, there's nothing. And on the third page, you can just change how it responds to velocity. The next engine that you can use is the Tronic, which sounds a lot like a 909. And like the other one, you can adjust the decay and the bend and the impact, which is similar to the attack. Gives you that high-end sound. On page 2, you can adjust the distortion, which can give you a lot of can help you to get that like techno sound. So you have your gain, your tone, and your bias. The bias is whether it's going to be on the highs or on the lows. And then your mix is your dry wet. And on page 3 is the scale of your velocity, just like the last one. The next one is Dusty, which kind of sounds like has like a sampled type of character to it, but it's still an analog modeled drum. And again, you can adjust the tune, the impact, and the noise, and your filter. And then same thing on the page 3. This would be if you were trying to get like a sampled sound but still have some analog style character to it. The next one we've got is the ones that these are all modeled after try to sound like real drums. So this is Rasper. Again, you can adjust your decay, your tune, the punch, impact, which is that top end, and the mode, and the decay of the crispness, and the amount. Snappy is another modeled after a real drum. So again, you have your tune, decay, snap, impact. These are similar parameters in all of them. And bold. For these, you might want more of like a on the maple, which is also modeled after real drums. You can also adjust the skin tune, the impact, and the room. And then again, the amount. Then you have push, which is kind of it's supposed to be kind of like a hybrid, I believe, of the two. Have an analog style sound to it, but be modeled after an actual kick drum. So that's all the kicks. We're gonna go back to the Tronic one and work with that. And now what we'll do is we'll select sound 2 and we'll start playing with the snares. We'll turn off fixed velocity. And what that does is now whatever velocity we hit the pad at for the step is what the velocity will be in the timeline. So to start, we've got volt, which is an analog modeled one. Again, we have our tune. Our decay. And what's the fun thing about using these drum synths is that we can actually program things on the step. So if we hold down this pad here, you'll see that it switches over to show us the parameters we can actually put into the step. So what if we just add so you can see on here that it adds for those steps the decay. It increases and then it goes back down at the next step to where it was originally. And that's kind of the fun of using drum synths, is that you can modulate the sound as you're going through. And now you can adjust the oscillator mode from punchy to tonal. Kind of changes the tone of the attack. And you can change the noise color. And then the amount of noise. Let's bring the tempo back down. Oops. The next engine that it has for the snares is bit, which is kind of like a chippy type of sound. We can adjust the grit, color. This is all in the noise, and then the amount of noise you want. Now you've got POW. Which is mostly all just noise. And now we come back to the ones that are modeled after actual snare drums. So you can adjust the skin tune, similar to the kick drums. You can adjust the skin tune, the impact, the body, and the amount of noise. We have an airy one. And in that we can adjust the mode, the tune, the decay. And then we have a vintage style drum. Adjusting the spectra, I believe, is the release or the decay part of the, the sustain part of the snare. Chrome is another one. And you got iron. And again, the fun thing is you can play with these, add some plugins after that, like saturator and things like that, and you can really get some interesting sounds from these drums that are unlike just your generic 909, 808 sounds. And then you have a clap. With that, you can adjust the room and the focus, and also the tune and decay as well. Go back to the volt, which is just your standard drum machine sound. Okay. Now we'll play with the hi-hats. Shift and then browse. So silver is an oscillator based. We can adjust the tune, the decay. So now you got an open hi-hat, and here's your closed hi-hat, just by adjusting the decay. So we could do a similar thing that we did before, where we put this one in, and on the we adjust the decay just for these. And let's just adjust the velocity. And then we'll just adjust the swing. Alright. So now the other parameters that we have is tone, where we can adjust the color. And the saturation. And then the noise. The next one is circuit, which kind of goes with the bit on the snare. It's got a digital sound to it. You can adjust the seed, which gives you a slightly different sound. Saturation. And the color of the tone. And dissonance. Now we have memory, which is based off of samples. It's to kind of duplicate the sound of a rompler. But this is actually being generated. It's not sample based. So what we can do is we can adjust the source. The color. The strike. Just kind of similar to the impact on the kick and snare. And distress. And that's what you got for the hi-hats. We'll go back to silver. Actually, we might stick with memory. Just bring the color up a little bit. Okay. And now we've got the tom, which is, you've got two different percussive engines. You've got tom and percussion. So we'll start with tom. Let's see, we'll put this. Okay. We'll solo it for now. Okay. So you can, with Tronic, you have it's similar to the 909 type of sound. So you can adjust the decay, the bend, you can hear how dramatic it is when you have it at 100%. And you can adjust the impact. And as you can see, the bend can go positive or negative. So now it's a downward bend, and here it's an upward bend. Now you can adjust the harmonics. You can kind of hear it now if we turn it up. Again, can help you to get a very creative sound if you're looking for it. The other engines we've got is a fractal based one, which I believe I read has two oscillators. It's one is your main oscillator and then one is a feedback oscillator, which also probably helps with the harmonics. Now we have a floor tom, which sounds like an actual floor tom. And the cool thing with the toms is that, well, with any of these, is that you can pitch them up and down. And since they're going through an oscillator, they're gonna pitch up and down and sound much better than a sample. So of course this one you won't hear it with this one for some reason. Let's try a different engine. There you go. Okay. Okay, so just with the same pattern, we'll just dive into the percussion. So fractal is actually based on the fractal tom oscillator, but it's just the feedback oscillator this time. And you can do some interesting things with this because it has a glide parameter and some harmonics. So what we can do is we can do what we were trying to do before and pitch this. We pitch it up a little bit. So let's move it over here. There we go. Now you can hear how the glide parameter changes the way it reacts. We can turn on tune hold. And the next one we've got is a kettle one, which is supposed to kind of sound more like a real or an actual percussive. The damper, and you have puff, kind of controls the reactive sound or the reverberations. And then you have impact. And then you have shaker. We'll add some swing to it. Okay. So shaker has a filter, a grain control, and it has modes for the envelope. Realistic, which allows you to adjust the attack and the release. And then it has machine mode, which allows you to also adjust the hold. And that's the drum synths that come with Maschine 2. I mean, obviously there's a lot you can do with these, and gives you the ability to be very creative with your drum sounds. You're not limited to just samples anymore. It gives you the ability to create drum patterns that also evolve by modulating the parameters like I showed you. So if you have any tips or any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. I'll keep posting more videos on Maschine 2 and also Ableton. And thanks for checking out the video.